When I was 18 years old, I saw for the first time in my life, I saw an image of clarity. I saw a comic strip, a 3-page comic strip that, though simple as it seemed, changed me, changed my being, changed who I am, made me who I am. It enlightened me. This strip, Garfield, the comic strip was new, no more than maybe a month and a half since inception, since coming into existence, and there it was before me in print. I saw it, a comic strip. What was it called? Garfield. The story here is of a man, a plain man. He is John, but he is more than that. I will get to this later, but first let us say that he is John, a plain man. And then there is a cat. Garfield. This is the nature of the world here. When I see the world, the politics, the future, the satellites in space, and the people who put them there, you can look at everything as a man and a cat. Two beings in harmony and at war. So this strip I saw, this man, John, and the cat, Garfield, you see, yes. It is about everything. This little comic is, oh, lo and behold, not so little anymore. So yes, when I was 18, I saw this comic, and it hit me all at once. Its power! I clipped it, and every day I looked at it and said, okay, let me look at this here. What is it doing to me? Why is this so powerful? John Arbuckle, he sits here, his legs crossed, comfortably in his home, and he reads his newspaper, the news of the world, perhaps, and then he extends his fingers lightly, delicately. He taps his fingers on an end table, and he feels for something. What is it? Is it something he needs? But it is not there. And then he looks up, slightly cockeyed, and thinks, his newspaper's in his lap now, and he thinks this, now where could my pipe be? I always come to this, because I was a young man. I'm older now, and I still don't have the secrets, the answers, so this question still rings true. John looks up, and he thinks, now where could my pipe be? And then it happens. You see it, you see. It's almost like divine intervention. Suddenly it is there, and it overpowers you. A cat is smoking a pipe. It is the man's pipe. It's John's pipe. But the cat, this cat, Garfield, is smoking the pipe. And from afar, and someplace near, but not clear, near but not clear, the man calls out. John calls out. He is shocked. Garfield, he shouts. Garfield, the cat's name. But let's take a step back. Let us examine this from all sides, all perspectives. And when I first came across this comic strip, I was at my father's house. A newspaper had arrived, and I picked it up from him and brought it inside. I organized its sections for him, and then yes, the comic strip section fell out from somewhere in the middle and landed on the kitchen floor. I picked up the paper pages and saw, up somewhere near the top of this strip, just like John, I was wearing an aquamarine shirt. So I thought, interesting, I'll have to see to this later. I snipped out the little comic and held on to it, and 5 days later I re-examined it, and it gripped me. I needed to find out more about this. The information I had was minimal, but enough. An orange cat named Garfield. Okay, that seemed to be the linchpin of this whole operation, yes. Another clue, a signature in the bottom right corner, a man's name, Jim Davis. Yes, I'm onto it for sure. So, 1. Garfield, orange cat, and 2. Jim Davis, the creator of this cat, and that curiously plain man. I did not know at the time that his name was John. This strip, you see, had no mention of this man's name, and I'd never seen it before. But I had these clues. Jim Davis, Garfield. And then I saw more. I spotted the tiny copyright mark in the upper left corner. Copyright 1978 to... What is this? Copyright belongs to a Paws Incorporated. I used the local library and mail services to track down the information I was looking for. Jim Davis, a cartoonist, had created a comic strip about a cat, Garfield, and a man, John Arbuckle. Well, From that point on, I made sure I read the Garfield comic strips, though as I read each one, as each day passed, the strips seemed to resonate with me less and less. I sent letters to Paws Incorporated, long letters, pages upon pages, asking if Mr. Jim Davis could somehow publish just the one comic, over and over again. It would be meditative, I wrote. The strength of that! Could you imagine? But no response. The strips lost their power, and eventually I stopped reading, but I did not want my perceptions diluted, so I vowed to read the pipe strip over and over again. That is what I call it. The pipe strip. The pipe strip. Everything about it is perfect. I can only describe it as a miracle creation. Something came together, the elements aligned. It is like the comets, the cosmic orchestra that is up there over your head. The immense, enormous void is working all for one thing, to tell you one thing. Gas and rock and purity and nothing. I will say this, when I see the comic pipe strip, and I mean every single time I look at the lines, the colors, the shapes that make up the 3-panel comic, I see perfection. Do I find perfection in many things? Some things, I would say. Some things are perfect, and this is one of them. I can look at the little tuft of hair on John Arbuckle's head. It is the perfect shade, the purple pipe in Garfield's mouth. How could a mere mortal even make this? I have a theory about Jim Davis. After copious amounts of research, and yes, of course, now we have the internet, and this information is all readily available, but Jim Davis, he used his life experiences to influence his comic. Like I mentioned before, none of them seem to have the weight of the pipe strip. But you have to wonder about the man who was able to even, just once, create the perfect form, a literally flawless execution of art, brilliance. Just as an award, I think there is a spiritual element at work. I've seen my share of bad times, and when you have something, well, it's just emotions and neurons in your brain, but something tells you that it's the truth. Truth's radiant light. Garfield, the cat, neurons in my brain. It's harmony, you see. John and Garfield, it's truly harmony, like a continuous, looping, everlasting harmony. The lavender chair, the browned table, the salmon-colored wall, the forest green carpeting. Garfield is hunched, perched, perhaps with the pike stuck firmly between his jowls. His tail curls around. It's more than shapes, too, because Okay, stay with me. I've done this experiment several times. You take the strip. You trace only the basic elements. You can do anything. You can simplify the shapes down to just blobs, just outlines, but it still makes sense. You can replace the blobs with magazine cutouts of other things. Replace John Arbuckle with a car parked in a driveway sideways. Cut that out of a magazine. Stick it in. Replace him there in the second panel with a food processor. Okay, and then we put a picture of the planet in the third panel over Garfield. It still works. There are universal proportions. I don't know how to best explain why it works. I've studied the pipe strip and analyzed John and Garfield's proportions against several universal mathematical constants. E, pi, the golden ratio, the Feinbaum constants, and so on. And it's surprising, scary even, how things align. You can take the tiny pieces of the pipe strip, for instance. Take John's elbow from the second panel and take that and project it back over John's entire shape in the second panel, and you'll see a near-perfect Fibonacci sequence emerge. It's eerie to me, and it makes you wonder if you're in the presence of a deity, if there was some larger hand at work.